There's a common misconception when it comes to finding success in your business, especially in the early years. There's a lot of noise online that talks about getting rich quick. And if you don't get rich quick, sometimes you can feel discouraged. And in this video, I want to share with you what the true path to success in entrepreneurship looks like, and more often than not, how that road is paved. I think this is going to be very encouraging for those of you that are maybe in the early stages of business, or maybe you're considering launching a business. It's going to give you the right perspective and the right expectations as you do so to ultimately set you up for peace of mind and success. My name is Tony Lopez. I'm the founder of Alternative Living Spaces, and I've been on this entrepreneur journey for now close to 7 years. And it has been exhilarating, it's been fun, it's been challenging, but ultimately it has caused me to grow as a person. And it is something that I've been blessed to be able to do. I get up every morning for work and truly do enjoy it. And so what I want to share with you today is having the right perspective when it comes to the journey of launching, growing, and sustaining your business. There's all kinds of information online that is basically painting this picture that when you start a business, you're going to get rich very quickly. And now that would be nice, and that's something that we certainly can aim for and hope that things go smoothly and quickly, and we see that profit just explode. But more often than not, I would say the path to success in business is a road that takes time, it takes hard work, it takes perseverance and patience. And so just want to help create proper expectations for those of you that are going into business, that are starting something, so that you don't get discouraged just by that comparison trap of looking at everyone's highlight reel, when in reality, the truth is most people are more similar to you than you really think. There's a verse in the Bible, it's in Galatians 6:9 that I really like. It says, "Do not grow weary in doing good, for in due season you will reap a harvest." And I think this is a great verse when you're thinking about business. Business is something that grows little by little. And oftentimes it takes time. If you think about a tree, you can't have a tree grow overnight. It's something that requires daily discipline, daily nurturing, watering it multiple times a day. And when you do that, that tree will thrive, it will grow, it will flourish. And I remember hearing this analogy a while back ago that it's always stuck with me. And it's the analogy of the Chinese bamboo tree. And it talks about how when you plant the seed for this bamboo tree, you'll then go to water it each and every day. Every morning you're going out and you're watering it. And that first year, the Chinese bamboo tree may just grow a few inches. Now roll into year 2, and you're doing your daily discipline. Every morning you're waking up, you're watering it. Every afternoon you're watering it. At the end of year 2, the Chinese bamboo tree may be 8 or 9 inches. And you're looking at yourself and you're saying, man, I'm discouraged. I'm not seeing the growth that I had hoped to see. I'm not feeling successful. I feel like I'm doing so much hard work, but it's producing such a little result. You continue that process for year 3, very little growth that you may see, but something happens at some point down the road where all of a sudden that bamboo tree shoots into the air. And in 1 year, instead of just seeing a few inches of growth, you actually can see 10 feet, 15 feet of growth. What's happening in those early years and in that early season is the root system is developing. It's things that you can't see. It's things that from the outside don't look successful, but the work that you're doing is effective and it is making a difference. I think about an airplane. When an airplane takes off, the most energy that is required is at takeoff, right? It's that launch moment where it's going up. It's just trying to get off the ground. In business, it's very similar. In the early days, there's a lot of energy required to get your business off the ground. And with time, you'll notice that business gets easier. Year 5, year 10, year 15, at that point, you're soaring. You could probably turn your engine off and coast for another 1,000 miles and still be in great shape. But in the early years, it requires a tremendous amount of effort to get off the ground. Another analogy is I think of birth, right? Think about a child's life, and especially in relation to a mother. Probably the most challenging day for the mother with the baby is day one. It's the birth of the baby. You know, immense pain, immense pressure, this incredible moment where the baby's life is now started. It's the Genesis moment. And in business, it's very similar. You have that launch moment, that leap moment, I like to say, the jump moment, this moment where it requires a big effort, a big push, requires faith to take off and to start. You know, for a lot of us, we can think about business and have business ideas and all of that, which is cool, which is great. But ultimately, there's going to come a point where you're going to have to take action, where you're going to have to be pushed out, where you're going to have to burn the boats that are behind you and just go all in and commit to actually starting this thing. You know, I remember for me, my story with Alternative Living Spaces was basically emptying my bank account to get started. I was thinking about doing a container conversion, and I had found one online that was for sale that someone had already done some work on. I went to look at it, and ultimately the price that he was asking for it was everything that I had in my bank account. And I knew that if I had made the decision to purchase this container, to spend all my money on it, and ultimately to now have a container on my parents' property, I was going to finish building it. It was the start of something. And it required that boost of faith, that leap of faith to say, you know what, I'm going all in. I'm going to do it. And I want to encourage you. You may have an idea. You may have a God idea of something that he's put inside of you that you know that you want to start. You know, take that leap. Take that jump. It's going to be uncomfortable, but I encourage you to just make that commitment to yourself to get started. You know, in the Bible, Jesus talks about the cost of discipleship, right? It's this idea that if you want to follow him, there's a cost associated with it. It is going to require denying yourself, maybe losing certain relationships that you currently have, maybe getting in uncomfortable situations. You know, there is a cost to entrepreneurship, and that cost is delayed gratification. For an entrepreneur, you have to have vision for the future, and you have to be willing to sacrifice today. You know, in those early years, just like that analogy of the Chinese bamboo tree, you're going to be putting in a lot of effort, and you may not see the fruit of it right away. But I want to encourage you to take heart, to not give up, because there will be a day where it will produce fruit. It's the laws of nature. If you water something, it will grow. And so you're doing the right things in those early years. You're doing the right disciplines. You're watering your business, and you're not seeing that initial growth. But I want to encourage you that this is something that takes time. And so delayed gratification is the cost for an entrepreneur, being willing to put in the hard work up front so that you can see the results down the road. Zechariah 4:10 says, "Do not despise the day of small beginnings, because the Lord rejoices to see a work start." There's another verse in the New Testament. It's Luke 16:10. This is one that has always stuck with me. And it says this, that he who is faithful with very little will be faithful with much. Now, there's something really interesting about this, because it says if he's faithful with very little, it doesn't say that he'll be given more. It says that he'll be faithful with much. That the same person who can be faithful and trusted with little is the same person who can be trusted with much. That tells me this, that in a season where you're looking around and you feel like, hey, Tony, all I have is little. I'm not seeing the fruits of my labor. I'm not experiencing the dreams that I'm imagining. I feel like I'm in a season where everything around me is little. Be encouraged that it's being faithful with little that is actually developing in you the characteristics, the qualities that you're going to need in order to also be faithful with much. You know, we all want quick, easy, and cheap success. We don't want it to be costly. We don't want it to take time. We don't want it to be difficult. But the truth is that the path to success is the path less traveled. And that path is not easy, and that path is not quick, and that path is not something that is cheap. I want to encourage you to try not to bite the bait. There's going to be a lot of opportunities, especially nowadays, where people are trying to ultimately sell you something on how to get rich quick, right? And so there's plenty of flashy items that you can be distracted by. I want to encourage you to try to stick to the time-tested truth of the Bible. Can God do a miracle? Absolutely. Can he turn a business into something that's extremely profitable overnight? Sure, he can. But I don't think that's something we're basing our life on, right? But we're basing our life on the scriptures. Proverbs 13:11 says, "He who gathers little by little will increase his wealth." One of the main reasons I think it's worth being an entrepreneur is ultimately that there's no ceiling. In any other context, in most jobs that you could have, there's a ceiling. There is a limit to what the boss is going to pay you, to what the company is going to pay you. And even though you're growing little by little every year and your skill sets are getting better and your knowledge is getting better and your impact is getting larger, if you're working for someone else, at the end of the day, there are limits. Now, there could be exceptions to this, but more often than not, when someone is an employee, even though they're getting better at what they do, they aren't always getting paid for it. What I love about entrepreneurship is as you develop, as you get better, as your skills get better, you can get paid more for that. There's literally no ceiling. The other thing I love about entrepreneurship is there's no gatekeeper. There's no one saying that you can't start your business. You can start your business. And that's what I love about it. So for those of you that you may feel like, man, I didn't take the right path up till now, and I didn't get the right degree and all of that. I didn't either. My degree has nothing to do with business. And my background has nothing to do with business. I just had an idea and I decided, you know what? I want to try to start something. And did I learn? Yeah. Did I pay? Yeah. I paid differently, right? I didn't pay for education up front. I started a business and I paid during the process of learning how to properly run it. Looking back, I would say 10 times out of 10, I would have rather learned it that way. If I was just in classes and I initially had started studying business in college, I remember my first year, I was studying business, and did I learn stuff that applied to the real world? Honestly, I didn't. It wasn't until I actually just started a business, got my feet wet, got all in, I'm in the middle of it, and it's at that point that I really started to learn what was needed. Now, I do want to end with one more thought on this idea of why entrepreneurship, man. Why not just get a job, right? Well, one of the beautiful things about having your own business is ultimately that it's your own asset. And the work that you're doing, we had that garden analogy earlier, is you're watering your own garden. When you work for somebody else, you're watering their garden. And as their garden flourishes, as it develops more fruit, they ultimately will get the result of that. When it's your own business, it's your own garden. As it develops, as it flourishes, you have the opportunity to reap the rewards of the hard work that you've put in. So at the end of the day, I just want to remind you not to despise the day of small beginnings. And I want to encourage you to take that leap. Those of you that are considering starting a business, go for it. Jump. I promise you, it is worth the risk. And I hope this was a video that was insightful for you. If you have any questions or anything, put them in the comments below. Excited for your journey as an entrepreneur. I'm always here to support you if you need anything, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.